One. Hey everyone, welcome back to Making Sense of the Media. It's a new series by Civics Unplugged that helps community members practice making sense of information flows surrounding current events. Who is saying what and posting what and why? What are the ramifications? How do we build immunities to propaganda, etc.? One of the best ways to understand these information flows is to actually practice being a deliverer of those flows. So today we have a simulation where two of our builders are playing a retiring and upcoming Republican senator or senatorial candidate, and Nisa and myself are going to be playing like a Chris Wallace Fox News interviewer type that's like fair and asks some reasonable questions. Um, so with that, I will step into the Chris Wallace zone. Cool. So welcome, Senator Toomey and candidate Kathy Barnett. Very excited that you're joined with us today. It's a very tense time in American history, and um, a real period of evolution and realignment within both parties. Of course, including the Republican Party, which you two represent. Um, First, how are you two doing on this fine afternoon in late 2022?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We just finished a finance hearing and we're getting on some very big bipartisan proposals.
You know me, I'm just on the campaign trail. I'm doing great. I'm campaigning for American values, which seem to have disappeared within the Democratic Party. I'm campaigning for America first.
Um, Fully respect that. So why don't we jump right in? So many are saying that the legacy of Trump denying the results of the 2020 election will haunt the Republican Party. Do you agree? And what do you believe the future of our democracy should look like?
You know what? I think Trump is a great president. He has kept us safe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the future of the Republican Party, I think at our current state, we are much more unified than the opposition party, than the Democratic Party at the moment. I think that though President Trump did make claims about mass voter fraud, by 2022, this has dissipated, and most people in the Republican Party do see Joe Biden as the president. That said, I think that the future of the Republican Party will continue to hold its values close to it, and I think that we will continue to fight for the average person.
So Democrats seem to think that the main thing holding the Republican Party together is fealty to Trump, and as we've seen, Trump is very active in hosting rallies for different candidates around the country. How do you respond to this? And if you disagree, what instead unifies the party?
Well, I've been in the Republican Party for quite a while, both in the post and pre-Trump era. And what I can say is that I believe that the Republican Party isn't held together completely by Trump, but rather by the values that Trump put forward. So I think that the Republican Party will continue to be a party of small government, that we will continue to be a party that works for the average person by reducing taxes, by building our economy, and by making sure that freedom is protected. I do believe that President Trump held these values very close to him, and I think that this will just be the track that the Republican Party continues on.
That makes sense. So this question is more directed to Ms. Barnett. What does the new younger generation of Republican candidates represent in comparison to older generations?
Well, I think today we are fighting for American values. We are fighting for our right to be American. Before, it was a lot about finances and immigration, and nowadays we are fighting for our right to be American. We're fighting for our free speech. The former President Trump has been deplatformed. They've taken him off. The mainstream media is oppressing him. I think we're fighting for our rights. We're fighting for our rights to be Americans. We are fighting for our rights as people. We are fighting for our right to express our own opinion. So I think that the younger generation, really, we have a larger fight ahead of us. Nowadays they are trying to erase us. They're trying to erase our role in the legislature they're trying to get rid of the filibuster, meaning that we won't have any say, we won't have any right. And so we are fighting for our right to be Americans. We're fighting for our right to be Americans, to serve in the government that the founding fathers created. We are fighting for America. This is a fight for the heart and soul of our country and our freedom.
I don't think Chris Wallace would say this, but amen. Some other Fox News person would say that. So Trump is currently the face of your party. I know that Barnett, you are quickly becoming a rising star, but why do you represent the future of the party?
I think the future of the Republican Party includes diverse people from diverse backgrounds. I was almost aborted when I was a child, which is a crime. I was almost killed. And I'm a Black person, and Democrats don't want Black people to be conservatives. They're trying to oppress our freedom to have our own political views. They're trying to tell us that if you don't vote for Biden, you ain't Black, which is absolutely ridiculous. So, I represent the future of the party because I am the future of America. I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps, and I am the American dream. I made it from nothing. My single mother raised me after she gave birth to me at the age of 12. I represent America and the American dream. And so I think the future of the Republican Party is really just people who believe in the heart and soul of America.
Senator Toomey, anything to add about Ms. Barnett?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's a very energized and a very strong woman that I hope that we continue to see in the Republican Party. As she made very clear, the Democratic Party has framed itself as a sort of all-encompassing party of all minorities. And we even saw that in the 2020 election. They sort of overassumed and sort of predicted that many minorities would vote for them, and this unfortunately didn't happen. I think that the Republican Party is becoming much more diverse. I think recently in the 2020 election, we saw that an unprecedented number of African Americans and Latinos voted for former President Trump. And I believe that this is just the track that we will continue on with very strong and energized people.
Yeah, I mean, if you just convert a small percentage additionally in different group categories, convert a couple more percent of African American vote, it becomes very precarious for Democrats. So how will the future of the Republican Party change our society? What is the party's vision for society? Let's say that you had you were able to take power, you did not have obstruction from an opposing party. What would the future look like? Senator Toomey, any other thoughts about kind of the vision for society?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as I was sort of getting into politics, we were in the Reagan era, which was a extremely prosperous era where we had bipartisan consensus, but we mostly had a strong Republican president, and we had majorities in the House and the Senate at different times. I think that period was an incredible period in which so many Americans were able to get out of poverty, were able to improve their livelihoods. It was a time of deregulation, and we saw that this greatly helped so many Americans all over the country. It helped small business owners, it helped minorities, it really helped everyone. And so I think that should Republicans continue to lead, and should we be able to take the White House in 2024 and then the Senate and the House of Representatives, I believe that we can have a very similar era to both the Reagan era and the beginning of the Trump era. I was very proud of the tax reform that we put in place at the beginning of Trump's presidency. It was a great tax relief bill, and it definitely helped so many Americans all over the country reach financial stability.
I agree. We will have freedom from taxation. You know, Americans right now, they're trying to eat the rich. They're literally telling us that they're going to eat the rich. First of all, how would that work? Second of all, how ridiculous. In America, we believe in the American dream, which means if you work hard, then you get money. So why? Why would they eat the rich? We need to stop this unreasonable taxation on American people. Working class American people are suffering. Rich Americans are suffering. Every American is suffering from the Democrats' taxation. For what programs? What social programs? They're just throwing money at people, not incentivizing people to work. We need freedom from this unreasonable taxation.
Sorry. Love that. Thank you, Miss Barnett and Senator Toomey. It's funny because like Sean Hannity actually just like literally asks those softball questions, and he's like gathers like a group of people and just like softball. Like,
the answer is implicit in his questions. Like he's basically just asking you to agree with his question.
How terrible is Joe Biden?
Oh. Yeah, like, can you believe what is going on here?
What kinds of people are missing from today's Republican leadership? What would make the party even stronger?
I would be very confident in saying that we need more people like Ms. Barnett here. I think that we definitely just need, I believe, a mix of all different types of Republicans and those who believe in freedom, those who believe in our core ideals. I think that really we've seen a shift in the leadership of the Republican Party, and I believe that we are on a good track to having a Republican Party that is really made of believers of freedom.
I agree entirely. We need people who believe in the spirit of the American dream. We need people who believe in freedom. And when I see Tim Scott and Elise Stefanik, I want to see more people like them, more strong women, more strong Black people, more strong African Americans, more strong Hispanics, more strong Latinos. I want to see everybody who believes in freedom should be part of the Republican Party.
You two started to cover this, but why is the Republican Party of the 2020s superior? This is kind of an embedded premise. Superior to the Democratic Party.
I think we're very family focused nowadays. We have such a focus on American working families. And I think as we continue on, we will focus on families as we have, and we will continue to focus on families, all families, inclusive families, biracial families. We will focus on family because family is what is most important to this country. You know, you have your family, you have your freedom, you have your right to own property, your right to own guns, you have your family. All of this is to protect and serve your family, and that is what the Republican Party is here to do. We believe in family values. However your family looks, you can be part of the Republican Party.
Yeah, I would add on to that. I think that was very well said. We're also in a very strategic position at the moment where really people kind of saw the Republican Party almost die out during the 2020 election. But really, we didn't lose. I think, especially in the Senate, we are at a 50-50, which means that at least 50% of Americans do believe in the Republican ideals and the Republican Party. I think what we also have is that we're incredibly unified. I think in 2021, many people were worried about the ousting of Liz Cheney. And while I personally won't comment on that because that was something that happened in the House of Representatives and completely out of my control, what I believe is that we are a much more unified party than the Democratic Party. Right now, the Democratic Party is torn between far left socialists and people like Joe Biden, more moderate people. And I believe that as this continues, right now they're being held together by President Joe Biden. But in the next election, should he not run, I believe that there will be a lot of infighting. We already saw this in 2020, where it was very hard for them to find a nominee. I believe that the Republican Party is much more unified right now. And I think that is what's giving Americans that security that they want in government.
really fantastic answers. I want to pass it to my fellow correspondent, Nisa, for some additional questions.
Yes. So I have some questions for Senator Toomey. So I'll get on with the first question. So the first question I want to ask is that, so as you worked as a senator, you served on the banking and budgeting and finance committees. So you worked on economical issues such as tax reform and regulatory, I can't speak, relief and trade policy. So how do you think this helped the economy?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think our greatest success was really at the beginning of 2019. We saw that the economy was at an absolute all-time high. Unemployment for all people was incredibly low. It was the lowest it's ever been. And I believe that this is truly because of the tax reforms that we put in place. I believe that it is because the Republican Party was able to carry out its ideals of deregulation and freedom that we were really able to work intricately to truly help Americans of all kinds. I think we've seen that under the Biden administration, it just hasn't been the same. I do serve on the banking committee, and we have been trying to get at some bipartisanship. But one of the main problems that comes is that usually during a recession and an economic low time, you don't increase taxes. That mostly doesn't make any sense. And what we've seen from these huge infrastructure spendings and welfare spendings is that people aren't going back to work. When Trump was president and in 2019, we had so many people working. It was the lowest time of unemployment. And right now we've seen that unemployment, while it has gone down after the COVID-19 pandemic, it has stagnated a little bit because people would rather just live on welfare than get out to work. And so people.
Did he freeze for you guys? Gary, Ash, anyone? Okay.
It's a good time.
Right now or just living.
Roman, yeah, you were cut
You
off.
cut off.
Yeah. Wait, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did I cut off at?
People are living off of welfare, which they
okay. Yeah. So what we've been seeing recently, and since Joe Biden took office, and since we've seen all these spendings in stimulus and everything like that, we've seen that people are just too hesitant to go back to work, and they would rather live on welfare than put in the hours that they need to contribute to society. And so I believe that we really saw that the tax reforms that we put in place have truly helped Americans, and we've seen that wealth has been able to trickle down, and it's something that we want to keep doing.
All right, so this leads to my next question. So how would you help Americans build a financial nest egg for their retirement?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think really one of the main things right now that we're seeing is that people are simply just paying too much in taxes. We see that time and time again, people from the middle class and the working class are just spending on taxes. And most of the time, the government is too inefficient to really bring it back to them. And so what we need to do is we need to lower taxes on working class Americans and middle class Americans so that they have more money disposable to them and that they can use for savings. And so instead of just throwing money at them through stimulus checks, we need to reduce those taxes so that the money that they're making with their important jobs, not only will wages rise that way, but they'll continue to be able to keep that money and then use it for savings later on.
So I don't remember what year this was, but when Trump declared a national emergency at the US-Mexico border in order to divert funds to build the wall, did you agree to this? If so, why?
So in that particular instance, we saw that there was actually a lot of rejection from the Republican Party and even from big faces in the Republican Party. The reason that we did this wasn't necessarily because we disagreed with what President Trump was trying to do, but simply because it presented constitutional problems. And so, of course, I have and the Republican Party has supported former President Trump's agenda with immigration. But again, we are a country of rule of law, and we are a constitutional republic. And so we believe that powers do have to be separated. And so in that instance, we had to reject simply because it was a small breach of power.
Hold on, sorry. So my question is, as you retire, will you continue to support the Republican Party? And what are your plans for the future?
Well, as I retire, I'm thinking of heading back to Pennsylvania, and maybe I'll get back into the private sector and some other options like that. I know that I will continue to support the Republican parties and fresh new faces like we see Ms. Barrett here and all across the country. And so it becomes my intention to continue to support this party. And in terms of what I'll be doing, I think I have a nice home in Pennsylvania, and I'll probably continue to work in whatever way I can.
Okay, so what advice are you handing down to your department?
Well, I think government is a very interesting place. It was Senator Kennedy that said that the brain starts working in the womb and it stops working once you enter U.S. Congress. And so what I think Ms. Barrett needs to focus on is staying true to herself, working within the party, maybe even trying bipartisanship. I think that truly when you enter Congress, those first 2 years are really a time of discovery and of just learning the intricacies of how Congress works and building allyships, making sure that you're able to work with anyone and truly trying to put your best step forward to represent the American people.
So this leads to my last question, Senator Toomey. So when Trump was going to get impeached in 2020, why did you vote to acquit him?
Yeah. So I originally put this in a press statement where I made it very clear that some of the acts that happened in this incident may have been slightly inappropriate, but they didn't reach the very high standard that we put in place in the Constitution for impeachment. And this is a very good thing, right? We do see that, politics are sometimes going to get messy in some instances. And so we keep that very high bar because we don't want to be swapping between presidents, each and every time that a little mishap happens. I think government is incredibly complex and there are many times to make mistakes. And frankly, everyone makes mistakes. And so in that particular instance, I didn't think that it fit the very high bar that is set by the Constitution, and very clearly neither did the majority of the American people.
Okay, thank you so much. I will move it on to Gary now.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Ms. Barrett and Senator Toomey. Any kind of any parting words as we head toward the midterm elections?
I'm really looking forward to hopefully being a part of Congress and working with honorable people like Tim Scott and Mitch McConnell. We really need to defeat socialism. They're trying to control us. They're trying to control our lives. They're trying to take our money. They're trying to kill our children. So, I really think that we need to defeat socialism. And when I'm in office, I will stand against all socialism. They're trying to strip our freedoms. I will stand for freedom and fight socialism and, make America free again. America first.
Yeah, and as a parting statement, I want to wish the best of luck to Ms. Barrett here with her race in November for the senatorship. Though we may disagree on some issues, I do believe that she's a very strong and energetic woman that will really put forward her passion for the American people if she gets to serve on Congress.
Well, thank you, Fox Nation, for tuning. Just kidding. All right, so let's do like a little bit of a amazing job. So I want to do some meta questions, and then Nick, you can jump in with some meta questions as well. Then we'll do like feedback to everyone, including to me and Nisa. So did you, as you were like preparing to play these characters, did you learn anything surprising about their positions or America or whatever?
Barnett literally has no positions. Everything she says is propaganda. Like, I'm not even kidding you. I tried to research her positions and I was just like, propaganda, more propaganda. Look, it's more propaganda. Her website is literally just propaganda. It's literally just her being like, I grew up, in this small town with a single mother and a blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So, like, I was surprised that there was, like, literally no platform there.
Yeah, I think it may just be too early to have policies. I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah, she doesn't have policies on her website. I think when I was looking
Wait,
up,
why would you not have
Hold on, just one second on that point. Sometimes, so I worked for Deval Patrick. He was the governor of Massachusetts, and I worked on his very first campaign when no one really knew who he was, and he was going to challenge Mitt Romney. And now, when we put up his website at first, we actually didn't put any policies up either. And it wasn't because he didn't believe in things; he definitely did. It's just that he definitely needed a lot of time to work it out to make sure it was right. I'm not saying that Barnett is doing the same thing, but it is common sometimes with a new political candidate to not define themselves by taking out position issues like right away and putting them up on a website. So again, not saying that she's doing that kind of thoughtful work, but there's definitely precedent for candidates doing that.
yeah, don't they do that in primaries too? Like in the party, they don't want to like make their opinions too clear because they don't want to sway away
Exactly.
voters. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And then if they go to the general, they don't want to have to then like walk those back if they like put on their website like clear positions, right? That's what I mean. Elizabeth Warren went the other way, right? During the primary, she was the one like, I have the plan. I'm the one that like is clearly defining this. Whereas if you went to other candidates, they were very vague, like Buttigieg or something, or even Biden, much more vague.
Yeah,
Well,
no, I think that's an interesting political strategy. I mean, it works me the wrong way. Actually, aside from like those Native American remarks that she made, I actually really liked Warren for that reason. Because I started researching it in like January before during the primary season. But I think for Senator Toomey, I mean, honestly, I knew he was like a moderate Republican, so I wasn't too surprised with a lot of his positions. I did go through some voting history, and I found some interesting votes that I didn't think that he would have cast. But I think that's essentially it. I think he's a pretty standard Republican, and if I'm going to be completely honest, he probably just wants to get away from the party and never talk to like just escape Congress. And yeah.
makes sense. Um, have any of your views on anything changed through this process?
Um, I got better at keeping a straight face when talking about Republican talking points, y'all. I only fell over laughing twice.
Only a couple of times.
Yeah, I think there's always a lot of political irony. I think it's especially clear in the Republican Party right now. And I think like okay, so recently, or not recently, but a couple of months ago, I did do this Model UN conference where I was in the U.S. Senate in 2017, and I was some like middle of the road Republican senator. And so it was kind of the same thing, but I think like really once you start to simulate it and once you start to get into their thought process, you really kind of do see the irony there, and it's almost hard to like keep going with it just because you know that it's so like unbelievable. But I definitely think we saw that like in the 2020 election, like Ted Cruz and stuff, they like definitely knew that there wasn't any fraud. But I think I think it's almost a little tough to really like go through with that and continue to like force yourself to believe it. So yeah.
Apparently, only like five Congress people, period, believe that. Which I do. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just. Okay. What I'll say is that what would you do, right? If like let's say there's a lot of ifs, right? If you like a long time ago, you believed that the party stood for more than just election fraud claims and stuff like that. and you built your entire life around a political career, right? And there's not like another party you can jump to. What would you do, right? It's tough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I think if you, I'm trying to think of an example of okay, let's say you hopped on the fascist party in like the 1930s in Italy, right? And you were there. Oh, we're gonna recover from the economy. We're gonna recover from World War I debt, stuff like that. And then it starts to kind of develop. I do think you can put blame on people, even if they have political careers, even if they're kind of relying on this. I do think that you can certainly, first of all, hold them accountable, and second of all, put blame on them for continuing with that, because I think that, you know, even senators like Toomey, for example, they didn't really say, or okay, I'm trying to think of like a more middle of the road, because Toomey did go on like media and talked about you know, like he did make it clear that Trump didn't win the 2020 election, and he did make it clear that he was, you know, making it up, like making up election fraud. But I do think there's a lot of other senators that like these old guys, they've been in Congress for 40 years now. I don't know. I think in that instance, I think I almost want to say that it's better to not say anything than to like spread a lie, you know, even if they're not doing anything to actively fight it.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. Do you respect what, I don't know if either of you remember Jeff Flake?
That's what I was going to ask Gary. I was going to say, do you agree with like that move to retire instead of keep seeking office?
You know who that is?
Who?
I
You know who
think he
Jeff
got
Flake
out
is?
at a good time, honestly. Like, first of all, I completely forgot about him, which is why I started laughing. Like, he's like been put in irrelevancy, but I'd rather be in irrelevancy than be remembered for this.
Oh yeah, this guy. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I think I think he, oh, he's trying to get a, okay, I'm just like, I just looked him up. He's, Biden's trying to get him to be an ambassador in New Zealand.
Oh, really?
Damn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a moderate Republican.
Right. Yeah, I think well, I think the thing with government though is that you never really leave like, you know, unless if you get like kicked out. Like once you retire, you either become like a lobbyist, or you go work with like a company that's pretty close with the government, or you just become an ambassador, stuff like that. Uh so I think like, I don't know, I feel like we shouldn't like make this whole like the economic aspect of having a salary, like having a job, right? You know, it's not like if you leave Congress you're just going to be poor all of a sudden. So I don't know, I think and plus most of these people have like law degrees, so I don't know that I really agree with the whole kind of sentiment, like what would you do in yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I also say it's very hard for you to have that empathy, right? Because all your entire friend circle will all be in this like universe, and your voters like will have a will ha like what some huge percentage of people still think the election was like a fraud, right? And your job is to represent your voters.
Well, I would say like, okay, but who started the whole voter fraud thing? Like it wasn't voters, right? I think that we've seen that Republican voters have been like that they've been represented by the Republican Party instead of the Republican Party representing them. And so I don't know. I think if nobody had said anything about election fraud, I don't think
Oh,
people would have just,
I
yeah.
know. I don't disagree, right? But at some
Mhm.
point they start believing it, right?
Right.
And then you're lost in the next election. You just lose the next election, right? And
Hmm.
so my whole point is that well, I mean, forget if you have sympathy or not. It's just like there are serious like game theoretic dynamics that all these people are factoring in that I think it's at least fair to say that there's more to it than maybe the most nefarious,
No, yeah, yeah.
or like cowardly like thought processes. Um, so other reflections on the process of becoming a character. Like,
I think I completely forgot about economic talking points, which definitely should have come up more. And I think like every time I finished a sentence, I would be like, I should have added these like 15 things. So I think just like maybe running it through just like in my head more and just like have prepped myself more would have made it better. But also all Barnett does is spew the same propaganda. So it wasn't
talking
that
about.
hard.
So are you talking about like? So what how would you categorize the talking points you said? More was that more cultural talking points?
There's more cultural talking points. And I think I forgot about like taxes until Roman said taxes. And then I was like, crap, taxes. Like stuff like that. Just like having a list of like, okay, this is what Republicans think Biden is doing to oppress them. Let's say these 10 things 20 times.
Yeah, I think you could have also brought up like China more.
Oh, China. I forgot about China. Yeah, that too. See, I need a list.
And this is maybe like a leading question. Do you feel like it was like almost again, this is like a leading question. Like, was it almost like uncomfortably easy for you to play that character?
Yeah, I think I've played far worse characters in like one of the UN conferences. Like one time I was Rockefeller, and it was like this whole simulation with like Eugene V. Debs winning the presidency and stuff like that. So I think we tend to know these characters pretty well, just like living in the society and like knowing a good amount about politics. So yeah.
Makes sense. All right, let's do Nick, Nick especially. And Ashley, if you're still around, any just feedback on how you thought this went, and any feedback for any individuals.
I mean, I thought it was great. You both were obviously very well prepared. You knew your character's backstory. I appreciate what you said, Ash, about not getting into the economic portion of it, but I think you kind of hit it where she would probably go if she was interviewed by someone like Chris Wallace. Would keep it more vague, and even if you went into economics, that would probably be pretty broad too, just less taxes. It wouldn't be like any specific reason why. And I think Roman nailed what it would be like for an outgoing senator. I'm actually interested in a question for both of you, because you both started talking about the Trump presidency, and that was obviously prompted by Gary. If you just put your Republican hat on again, do you think it's a wise strategy for them to like keep rehashing this and keep kind of building off of a one-term president? Because if you look back, like the last two one-term presidents, you look back at Carter and then the first George Bush, it would have been a real mistake. And Democrats like fell into this trap in the 80s, right? Like they weren't hard enough against Reagan. They were kind of like rehashing the Carter years, and then same thing with the first Bush. It's usually not advantageous, is what I'm getting at, to be rehashing a one-term losing president. So what do you think of that strategy on the Republicans?
I would say it's just different. I think that Trump had a far greater cultural impact, both on like Republican voters, by like getting people who typically wouldn't vote, or people who typically wouldn't voice their opinion, those opinions, but then they see the president doing it. I think also one of the reasons that we did that too is just because like if we're gonna get into the mind of like in the future in November 2022, that's still close enough to like be similar to now, but not like far off enough to like be completely different. So I think that we still have that kind of bias of now, and I think that Trump wasn't like super far away like right now. But I think the biggest thing is just he had such a big cultural impact, and obviously I wasn't around for Bush or Carter, but I mean, like I don't know, was Carter super, like did people,
No,
like,
you're right.
did he have the same like cultural impact? I wouldn't say so, no. And I think
No.
Trump really took the Tea Party and really like steered the Republican Party towards that. And so I think that like also you have a bunch of people who think he should have been a two-term president, like who don't think his loss was legitimate. So I don't know. And I also just feel like, and maybe this is just one of those things because when you're living through it, it feels longer. But he definitely felt like he felt like more than a one-term president, you know?
Yeah, the news. Well, that definitely the news cycle plays a role in that too, because it was just crazy for so long, and we're just hyper aware of the news now too. Where from 1976 to 1980, I wasn't alive then either, but I have a general sense of what it was like then. There was not a lot of news. The biggest stories were a gas shortage, and then the Iranian embassy, the Americans that were held hostage there. Those are the two crises that he faced. That's what most people remember about Carter. If you ask people what happened in the Trump presidency, you could list 100 things that happened.
Yeah, I think he also started having a lot of impact. Like I think he's had, compared to a lot of other presidents, he's had impact like before and beyond his term that like other presidents haven't. Like I feel like we've seen his face since like 2015, and I think throughout all of 2016 he was the face of the Republican Party. Like so many people were starting to gear that way, and then he just is continuing to be this like prominent figure afterwards.
Yeah, I honestly think that, sad as it is, Trump may still control the Republican Party in 2022, especially with his rising endorsements. And actually, one of Barnett's opponents is endorsed by Trump, but highly, highly critical of Toomey. Like his entire website is "I hate Toomey." So I was like, that doesn't seem like the right one for this instance. And considering what the Republicans are doing, running like diverse candidates in 2022, like that's how we ended up at Barnett. But I just think, like, sad as it is, yeah, he is going to control the party, and it doesn't make any sense considering he's not even on the internet. But like, that's Trump. I mean, he's a brand now. He's not just he was always a brand. He's a culture. He's not even a man. He's a culture. Like Trump is just a culture.
Yeah.
Trump is a culture of like misogyny,
That
racism, white superiority. He's just a culture. Full on culture now. Like he's a fad. He's not even just a dude anymore. It's like a kind of society. Trumpism
Yeah, like
is like a thing, right? Like Trumpism. Like it's not just like, oh yeah, I was a president. There's no like Nixonism. It's Trumpism. Like it's iconic, which sucks, but it's true.
Yeah, you're very right. I think it's like a essence. It's like that's not going to go anyway anytime soon. Um, I think it's really unfortunate because I think there is a temptation to assume the worst about everyone that supports him, because he's done a lot of bad things. It's hard for me to ever forgive him for, even just to point out one example, the Central Park Five incident. I don't know if you know what that is, but he like bought like a full page ads in the newspapers, like incriminating people that, like basically changing public opinion to lock up innocent young black men. But there's real frustration in the country that he harnessed. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah, go ahead.
Ash did a great job of actually harnessing that with Barnett right in the beginning. You kept like saying this is our country. They're trying to take it away from us. Like that to me, like that's like the essence of Trumpism. And it's interesting that Barnett feels aligned with that and with Trumpers, but you definitely did a good job of harnessing.
Yeah, and I think this is Barnett is a particularly effective candidate for the Republican Party because it um, I think both sides are understand the power of, it's overused term, but identity politics. And if you are called by Democrats a racist party or whatever, you run a black woman, it's like you have to start. Your arguments have to be a little bit more um, nuanced, I guess, to persuade people to not vote for Barnett, right?
You're right. I'm sure there's Republican strategists right now who are salivating at the chance to get her and Kamala Harris like in a debate or something eventually.
Yeah, or just like who are the next people that can counter AOC, that type of vibe. I want us to we don't have to figure this out right now, but does anyone have any ideas for a next simulation we want to run? What's
Maybe
like
this is just me, but I'd love to run something at the Democratic Party because there's just so
Yeah, we
much
could-
infighting.
Yeah, we could run a debate maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think between like a moderate and
It's a good idea.
maybe it could be more like, it doesn't have to be like a back and forth debate, but it can be kind of like an interview. But like here, the purpose of this interview was to get voters to, like vote for her, like to vote for Barnett. But I think we could also do it like kind of, we could do like a question based debate, and then maybe allow some time for like some crossfire.
What if we did something like related like two strategists on the Democratic side arguing about who and what essences represent the future of the party?
Yeah.
Like, because briefly we can maybe talk for a minute. Like, it's pretty clear that AOC has a very strong perspective about what the future of the party should be or something, and then like there might be like an Amy Klobuchar side, or and here's also Kamala Harris's. This is a big challenge for Kamala Harris because very much like Hillary Clinton, she tries to be both a progressive and a moderate, depending on who she's trying to get the votes from, right?
I
And
gotta
then
say though, her record is pretty like criminal justice-y.
yeah, I mean, and
Right. That's one side of it. Yeah.
right,
But then then Gary's right though, when she talks to the more liberal, like compared to Biden though, she does seem more on the liberal wing, and she'll kind of use that in her favor when talking to other groups.
yeah. So we can. There's a lot there related to Kamala Harris, and maybe will just be by default covered by two people playing Democratic strategists with different opinions, and like part of the homework is like each side picks like three future faces of the party and why they deserve more investment, right, by the DNC, that type of deal. Does that make sense? Like it's like an argument for where more resources should be poured. Because right now I don't like there seems like far from a consensus on what that should be.
Yeah, I think also like maybe some like some broad topics, I guess. I think if we like climate change solutions or stuff like that, I think could be interesting.
So the interviewers can ask like a series of questions related to like all sorts of topics, which will force people to. I mean, when you're identifying who is like the future of the party or what the future of the party is in terms of policy platform, right? You have to have stances on these issues, right? So maybe it's like one person picks a more moderate, like, or just like old school kind of Joe Biden moderate type deal, and then the other picks like a more AOC type side.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to put pressure on any of you to volunteer, so I'm just gonna type it up and then ask for people to think about volunteering. But amazing job. I thought this was really fun, and I learned a lot about the the Toomey who's retiring and this up and coming candidate.
Nice job, everybody.
Yeah, great job.
I just want to make it
this is
very
great,
clear
yeah.
that I do not believe a single thing I said. Oh my god. listening to
Yeah.
myself. I was like, who is this?
I feel like I sounded dry when I asked the questions. I'm just very tired today, you know?
Maybe it has
So-
something to do with the 8-hour breakout hangout.
Oh my god. Yep.
Natalie and I were on.
We spent, oh my god, that was
We
wow.
spent a total of 8 hours on a spontaneous hangout yesterday. We set a
Oh
record.
wow.
This
Dario,
is Dario's fault, technically. This is Dario's fault.
Dario,
Hey, Dario clocked out at 6 hours.
Wait, Gary, did you see what Dario put in the random chat?
the Fox News thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
It was funny.
Yeah, I thought that was this because I thought this thing was yesterday.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I like came on at like 5:15 and I saw the link wasn't open yet. And so I was like, oh shoot, did I miss it?
So you're gonna do it tonight again?
Wait, what?
Wait,
Dario
no.
has an ACT.
This
Okay.
is
We're
an
doing it.
ACT.
I'm hosting tomorrow starting at 5.
Okay.
We hacked Dario's Zoom so that I can do it.
We did a lot of random stuff yesterday. It was crazy.
You know what? I got to be Caitlyn Jenner. Okay.
Wait,
Hold on.
how late do you guys stay up?
Till like 1 a.m. Eastern
Oh.
time, I think. But it's
No,
cool for
Natalie and I were
me.
on until like 1:45.